Hey all, thanks for joining me for today's video. We're going to talk about dupes. And so I want you to leave any emotional attachment you have to dupes or against dupes at the door before you watch this video, because I just want to share some reflections on my own experience with dupes and where my thinking is today. And would love to hear your thoughts in the comments too. What I don't want to do is get into an enormous debate about dupes. There's plenty of debating going on out there, and I'll talk about that in a minute, which is one of the reasons I wanted to make this video, because I'm just as fed up, a good word, probably fed up with all of the ridiculous arguing about dupe fragrances. I have my own opinions. I'm sure you do too. Everyone has an opinion about dupes. And I don't think any of the opinions are right or wrong. They're just opinions. So let me start with saying that since I started my channel, I've purchased many, many dupes, probably in the hundreds, largely for two reasons. One is I thought to myself, if I can get an affordable version of a $300 or $400 fragrance, why not? Doesn't that seem like a good idea on the surface? And two, I wanted to have them in my collection to compare maybe to the real thing or to offer as options to viewers. And for me to feel comfortable doing that, I wanted to be able to have experienced them myself. So then we got into a situation where different dupe houses ran sales. I love a good sale. There's something about a sale or a discount that just calls me like the Pied Piper. That's a whole nother conversation for a different day. But as some of these houses offered sales, 30% off or more, I'd be sitting there just adding a cart, adding a cart, adding a cart. And at the price point, I thought to myself, why not? Like, what's the harm? And then packages would arrive and I'd have dozens of fragrances in little bottles from some of our beloved dupe houses. And I'd try them and I would enjoy them and would talk about them on my channel. I have a number of videos where I talk about dupe fragrances and I actually argue for them. So spoiler alert, I am not arguing against dupes in this video by any means. I have some dupes in my collection that are probably going to stay here for a long time. I'm just sharing some reflections to date of some thoughts I've had about them. Okay, so cat's out of the bag there. I'm not anti-dupe, and I'm not sure that I ever will be completely anti-dupe, because I think that they have their place in the market. So fast forward about a year, and all of a sudden I've got so many dupes that look the same, because there are a number of houses that produce the same kind of bottle. They just changed the name on the label for the fragrance that it represents. Sounds simple, and maybe some people think that that's an aesthetically pleasing setup for a bottle situation. For me, it became overwhelming, and that's just me being honest, to the point where I had to put stickers on the bottles to remind myself what that name represented. Imagine that. So now I've got dozens and dozens of bottles from probably 5 or 6 popular dupe houses. And I've got to pick it up and look back at the sticker to remind myself, what is this a dupe of? Oh yeah, let me try that on today. And if you know anything about me in my life, I am crazy busy with family and work and other obligations. And the last thing I need is one thing, even 1 second of additional complication, like having to turn a bottle around. It just got to be overwhelming and visually displeasing to see the same bottle shape in chunks, like multiples of that same bottle shape in my collection. Part of what I really enjoy about fragrance collecting is the variety across bottles. There's just something artistic and beautiful about looking at different bottle shapes, the colors, the shape, the weight, the materials used, and how the fragrance house thought that that design might represent the fragrance. There's an art to that, right? And so when you have fragrances that look the same, it takes away that portion of the pleasure of having a fragrance. So there's that. So fast forward to this year, where I've started to curate my overall collection in general. It doesn't matter what the category is. There have been a lot of fragrances that have left my house and a lot of new beauties that have come onto the shelves. I'm not in the business of having a tiny collection. I may do that at some point in the future, but right now I kind of enjoy the large collection. I enjoy collecting. I enjoy trying fragrances, all of the above. So the thing about the dupes is, because of the bottle shape issue, because of amassing so many of them, and because of a few other reasons I'll mention here in a second, I started to give some away to friends and to sell a bunch on Mercari. I know there's a huge market out there of people that really love these dupes and don't mind the bottle shape situation. So for those persons, eureka, there's a bunch on Mercari available for them, and they have sold really well. Thank you if you are someone that has purchased one of them. I hope that you're really enjoying it. For me, because there were so many, that was a problem. And then I want to get into specific houses and issues that I had with them this year that kind of changed the way that I looked at things. And I want to remember to come back to the public arguments that are happening about dupes, because that has a big role in the taste I have in my mouth about the dupe situation. So let's then talk about specific houses. Most of the dupes that I have purchased have been from one of the following houses: Alexandria Fragrances, which, by the way, remains my number one dupe house. Really enjoy them and will probably continue to purchase from them in the future. I'll share why. Dua. I will probably not purchase again from Dua except occasionally here or there. I've purchased from Be Layered, which is a sister company to Alexandria Fragrances. I've purchased from Okcha, Oil Perfumery, Orientica, which is a subsidiary or sister house or something to Al Haramain. I've purchased from Al Haramain. I've purchased from Rasazi. I've purchased from Latafa. And I don't even know what else. Oh, Juliana's Perfumes. Let's not forget about them. So of the fragrance houses that I just mentioned, Alexandria, I'll probably keep going back to. And I wouldn't hesitate to go back to Juliana's Perfumes either. I have found, and Be Layered being the sister house of Alexandria, I found those three to have pretty good quality of fragrances, meaning for me, I can only talk about what I think quality is. You're going to have a different definition. And I know there are a number of people out there that want to have huge arguments about the quality of ingredients inside of the formulations of dupe houses. I get it. I totally understand that. I'm not here to argue that point. But for me, quality means in a dupe fragrance, the fragrance smells very, very similar to the original, or similar enough that no one's really going to know the difference unless they are connoisseur fragrances and they do a side-by-side sniff test and all of that. The fragrances have maintained their composure, their general composition, the smell of the composition. They haven't deteriorated in any way in the time that I've had them, and they've sort of held their own. And then there's this other really important factor that as of late, and by as of late, I'm talking about maybe the last 6 months or so, has really started to irk my personal human nerves. I do have a moral compass. I have an ethical compass. It's pretty darn strong, even though I'm in favor of dupes, and some people might think that's unethical. All right, difference of opinion. I have a problem with not knowing that a fragrance release is a dupe of something else. Anyone else? So here's what ended up happening. From what I understand, at least here in the US marketplace, perhaps there's some other retail website out there that tells you this fragrance is an inspiration of thus and such. But when I started to purchase some of these fragrances way back and didn't know to look on Fragrantica in the reminds me of section to go, oh, that's a dupe of thus and such. I just sort of purchased without thinking about that. I'd get it home and I'd be like, this smells familiar. And then I go do the research and go, oh my gosh, I just purchased something that is an inspiration of fill in the blank expensive designer or niche fragrance. And if I had known that, if it was apparent in the marketing, I would have at least had the chance to make a decision about whether I wanted to purchase that dupe or not. So at least here in the US marketplace, unless you go on sites like Fragrantica, or other sites where the owners of those sites decide to convey this is a dupe of thus and such, you may not know that you're getting a fragrance that smells like something you probably already have in your collection or that you've sniffed before. That is problematic for me, especially when some of these dupes can go in between the $50 to $100 range. At that point, we're talking about bordering in on designer price tags. For some people, that's a chunk of change to put down on a fragrance, and I feel like they have the right to know that the fragrance smells like something else, that it's inspired by something else. So I'm not sure if it's a purposeful lack of disclosure or if it just happens to be the way that things are marketed in the US. I haven't figured that out yet. Perhaps you know, and you can weigh in on the comments if I'm completely crazy.
Let me also pause to acknowledge that buying a fragrance that smells almost identical to something else happens in the designer, niche, and indie space as well. I assume that there are formulas that are either copied or shared across fragrance houses, and you have perfumers that may work for one house, have a style, and nearly duplicate similar types of fragrances for another house as well. So, this issue of buying fragrances that are identical and you don't know it until you get it is not unique to the dupe situation. Nor is it unique to the fragrance world. In every sector of business, we see that well performing products and services are duplicated, copied, duped, imitated, whatever we want to call it. It's just part of the way that business goes. The argument I'm making is that I would just like to know before I purchase something, because fragrance is something that you smell and don't see ahead of time, unless you test it or wait for reviews to come out. You may not know what you're getting yourself into, as opposed to other products that you can see are imitating something popular out on the market. Back to the regularly scheduled program, my friends.
Okay, so I purchased probably a year and a half ish or so ago a number of fragrances from Orientica. You've seen the ones in the cages. Gosh, this is a super gaudy bottle. Some people really love it. The fragrance is magnifique. Okay, this is Amber Rouge, a dupe of either BR540 or the Extrait. I don't remember. I haven't worn this in a bit. I didn't know that when I purchased it. Now, some of you may be going, duh, everyone knows that. No, when these were first advertised, for example, when they showed up on Instagram, it wasn't with the disclaimer, by the way, this is an imitation of thus and such. So that became known as people started to purchase these, put them on and go, oh my gosh, I know that smell quite well. And then the reviews came out comparing it to BR540, and you saw the reviews on Fragrantica and in the smells alike section, so on and so forth. Same is true with its predecessor from Al Haramain, which is the sister or parent company to Orientica for Rouge, Amber Oud Rouge, which, by the way, again, fantastic. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the exact same juice or some slight tweak between them. I don't really know. That's not the point of the video. Fantastic bottle, amazing fragrance. You had to know that you were getting a dupe. Everyone knows that now. But the point that I'm making is when these are first released, that is not obvious, at least on the marketing channels that I've looked on. How about you? Do you see it in the places that you look? For example, when you go on retail sites that sell this, does it say that it's an inspiration of? I don't know. But it wasn't there for a long time, maybe more recently. Same thing with these bottles, which are gorgeous bottles. I like them. This is Melody de Orientica, another dupe. Fabulous fragrance. And I have Flor de Orientica and I have the Rose one. They're dupes of other fragrances. When these were first advertised, when I saw them floating around Instagram, that was not revealed. So how is someone to know if you're early out of the gate? It's good. If you're early, this is a dupe for Sintra, Memo Sintra. If you're early out of the gate purchasing these, you don't know. It's not revealed. I mean, tell me if I'm crazy. Tell me if the brand announced, hi, we're coming out with inspired by versions of Sintra, of Fleur Narcotique, and others. There's also a leather one that I have that is really a fabulous fragrance. Had I known, I could have made up my mind with knowledge in hand. I don't have a problem with knowing that now. This is staying in my collection. This is staying for a while, despite the fact that I don't like the cage bottle. And this is staying, as well as a number of others from Al Haramain and from Orientica that I really enjoy. So it started to kind of bother me that I didn't know it at first, and that we didn't know that until people started to review them and draw the comparisons, and then everyone knows now, right? So then, before I make another point, let me pause to say that Dua in particular, the bottles I've shared before, I just don't care for them. Some people love the bottles, I do not. I don't like the way that they look. The artwork bothers me. So that's my problem. I purchased them knowing that. So I take full responsibility for that. Additionally, I've realized as I've used dupes that unless they have an interesting bottle, like the ones that I showed you, having them all be in the same bottle shape just takes a little bit away from the experience. And I do appreciate having the original bottles sort of as a small form of art or something along those lines that adds to the overall experience of having the fragrance on hand. And so I have slowly been switching out most of, not all, because like I said, the ones you saw are staying, but I've been switching out a number of my dupes for the original bottles. I will say there are cases where some of the dupe fragrances perform better. They last longer, they project longer, they keep beautiful opening notes longer that attract people to a fragrance in the first place. And in those cases, the dupe maybe is a better option for certain people if they're okay with dupes than the original. I also cannot underscore the importance of affordability when it comes to dupes. Everyone wants to just smell good. A number of our friends out here either don't have the means to purchase fragrances that are expensive, and everyone has a different definition of what's expensive. $100 may seem affordable to you, but it may make a huge difference to someone else that has bills they need to pay with that. So I keep that in mind too, of course. Everyone's situation is different. And then, quite frankly, there are a number of our fragrance friends that choose just not to spend a lot on fragrances because they think it's ludicrous or not worth it. I totally get that. Spending upwards of $300 on a bottle of smelly water may seem really obscene to people. And I totally understand. To each their own. If some of us want to spend on that, great. And if others don't, that's fine too. So dupes provide an affordable way for people to try different fragrance profiles that they might not otherwise be able to afford. I cannot underestimate the importance of that or underscore what a difference that makes for people who want to be involved in this hobby and cannot do it for whatever reasons or refuse to do it at the financial level that others do. By the way, can I take a 2.2, as Miss Sheree would say, for a public service announcement? Fragrances are not an investment. I've said this in other videos, and I really want to push that home to those of you, especially that are new. Sometimes YouTubers will say, buying a certain bottle is an investment. When really what that translates into is, I am willing to spend the money on this fragrance because I really enjoy it and I think it's worth it. An investment is something that appreciates in value over time. Unless a fragrance is discontinued or out of stock or hard to find, a fragrance is not an investment. All fragrances that we put on our shelves actually go down in value over time, as witnessed by very expensive fragrances showing up on discount sites as stock gets older or is turning over, or there's new product coming in and they're wanting to put the older stock out, or any number of reasons that fragrances show up on discount sites, which, hey, I'm an avid discount shopper. I think everyone here knows that. I love a good discount. Two other points I want to make here, and then I'd love to show you just some of my beloved dupes that are staying here with moi. One other point is something distasteful, two distasteful things that I've noticed this year. One that really started to happen blatantly this year is that at least one very popular house started to produce fragrances that were just maybe 3 steps shy of being a full-on counterfeit. I think you all know what I'm talking about. The bottles looked nearly identical to the originals. The name was even a play on the originals. There might have been one word that was switched out. And that happened in mass with a number of products that hit the market all at once. And it really it gave me pause. It gave me pause. Have I ever had a fragrance that looked very much like the original and had a slight name change? I have. I admit that I do. When that happened at that volume, that quickly, and flooded the market so hard, it really made me stop and think about, where have dupes gone? Or where has some of the dupe market dared to step that is actually probably, troublesome for me? I can't say for you. I just mean for me in terms of potentially crossing some ethical lines. Maybe you feel differently, and that's okay. I hope you won't judge me from my perspective, and I certainly won't judge you for purchasing them and enjoying them. There's something about the flooding of that particular set of fragrances en masse into the market and the uptake of them on YouTube that just really made me pause and give thought to, or different thought to, what are we really doing here with this dupe situation? Have we gone past giving people an affordable way to try a similar scent profile and stepped into some other Twilight Zone territory that I feel uncomfortable with? I haven't really answered that question except to say I didn't purchase any of those fragrances. I don't judge people that do, and I hope that they're really enjoying them. But it just felt a little off for me, I have to admit, and it made me go, like the record went, in addition to me giving a good look to the dupes that were going to stay in my collection and making me really question where I was with this myself. The last thing that I noticed very much this year, more so than in other years, I'm in a number of Facebook fragrance groups. I'm not active in those groups, but I do on occasion, like everyone does on social media, just kind of scroll through. I don't get on Facebook often for lots of other reasons. It's just not my platform of choice these days. But as I would get in those fragrance groups, I've been seeing a lot more back and forth, really tacky, pedestrian, really corny arguments. And I'm talking about mudslinging back and forth about originals versus dupes, who buys them and why, and what it says about those people. The dupe lovers calling the original purchasers snobs. They are overspending. They're fools to pay all that much for fragrances. And then this group accusing this group of being cheap and settling for less in terms of quality and not being able to afford the more expensive. And I'm like, really, folks? With everything we have out in this world that already divides us as humans, real or imagined, on top of that, we're going to add an absolutely, pardon my French, asinine argument about original versus dupe. I just can't. I can't do it. I would occasionally jump in almost for humor's sake. What are these fools arguing about today? And just kind of scroll through and go, oh, no, I'm just kidding. I don't want any parts of this, and I would back out. I certainly don't want to contribute to that. But there's something about even laying eyes on those threads, the number of times that I would see those. If I go onto Facebook twice a day, I will see at least 2 or 3 threads focused on that. And I'll tell you what, the gentlemen, you guys out there, you men argue about this nonsense really brutally and in such a nasty fashion with each other. The ladies don't do it quite as much. There's a little bit of that going on, but it's a little bit more polite. The gentlemen, they're slitting throats in these threads. I'm like, this is stupid. Stupid. I firmly believe if a fragrance smells good and you want to wear it, regardless of whatever it costs, if you want to pay $10, if you want to pay $100, $500, $1,000 for a bottle, that is your business. That is between you and your budget and your financial situation to figure out. That's not for me to judge. Okay, so wear whatever you want to wear. I firmly believe that. But I did want to share sort of where I am. And I think the long and short of it is, it's not that I wouldn't ever purchase a dupe again. Alexandria and Juliana's perfumes, I may purchase from them again. Certainly if there are fragrances that I can't find or discontinued or that I think may perform better than the original, I will certainly look. So I want to share with you some fragrances that I think are worth keeping in terms of dupes that have a nice place on my shelf. And it'll probably be a long time before I think about getting rid of them. But those are my thoughts on dupes and why so many of them have seen their way out of my collection. So just to recap, I want to know that I'm purchasing a dupe. I don't want to be fooled into thinking I'm purchasing an original fragrance and then later finding out that it's not. By the way, there are a lot of other, particularly Middle Eastern fragrances flooding the market that smell really great. They smell great. But when you get them, you realize, oh yeah, this is duping or inspired by something else. I want to know up front so that I can make the decision about whether it's something that I want to purchase or not. That's 1. 2, I think there, at least for me, is a line there when the fragrance looks almost identical in terms of the bottle and the name and the scent profile to the original. I don't know, something about that it hits different and not in a good way. And I'm like, ooh, have we gone too far with this whole dupe thing? I mean, some may argue that stepping into dupe territory at all is wrong. Heard, I understand that mentality, and to each their own when it comes to that. Oh, another brand that I purchased thinking I was getting originals, Barouge. I bought 4 of those fragrances. One that I still love, Gravity, is staying in my collection. The others are beautiful. I didn't realize that they were dupes until maybe a year ago when I looked them up and thought, oh, I didn't even know that. I just feel like I should know as a consumer. Does anyone disagree? Does anyone think it's okay to be buying a dupe that you don't even understand as a dupe? I mean, maybe you do, and we differ in that way. But so that's kind of where I am with things. I'm leaning more toward original bottles these days than dupes, but I still have a place in my heart for Alexandria and Juliana's perfumes. And there may be other dupe houses that come out on the market that I enjoy. I haven't purchased any fragrances from Dapper. I purchased some from Andromeda's Moon that were just, in my opinion, they didn't meet the mark in terms of quality. They didn't give me projection or longevity or quality. And so that bothered me. I spent some money there. There are a number of other dupe houses that I've purchased from and haven't talked about on this channel because the quality has not been up to par, and or the labeling or the bottle style just feel inadequate for me, and I would rather not. Right. So the nice thing about the Orientica and Al Haramain fragrances and some of the other Middle Eastern ones is that the bottles are actually kind of cool. They're their own sort of visual feast or treat. And that's all right. So anyway, that is what's happening with my dupe situation. And let me share with you, in addition to the ones that I talked about, some of the others that I really do enjoy in my collection and that I want to stay, because they have a special place in my heart. By the way, I do have a few original duas that I do plan to keep. I enjoy them, but the other dua that is staying in my collection, and then I think probably the others will go out the door. I have a Mercari link below. If you're a dua lover, you might get yourself a nice little deal there. This is Night in the Desert, and this is a dupe for Tom Ford Sahara Noir, which is no longer available. So this is staying. It's a really lovely, spicy, ambery, fall, wintry, deep fragrance. Very, very nice. I like that a lot. And then some from Alexandria Fragrances. And here's a reason to think about a dupe. So as you know, there's a version that is a 1 ounce, 30 mils. So there's a few fragrances here that I likely would never go through a full bottle of or even adequately use a full bottle of the original to justify it. So it's nice to have just this little amount for the times that I get a wild hair and want to smell like this. This is Oriental Leather, which is a dupe for the beautiful Oud Ispahan from Dior. Fantastic fragrance, amazing dupe. Love this. It's really freaking good. I don't know that I would use Oud Ispahan enough to justify that. So this is like once a winter season or twice that I might spritz this on kind of a thing. Same thing for Santal's Kiss, which is a dupe of Santal 33. Fabulous. Really good. Gosh, that's good. Very, very similar to the original. But this is not a scent profile I would wear very often. So this little 1 ounce does me just fine instead of spending, I don't know, close to 300 or whatever it is for the original bottle. I don't have any Lalabos, actual bottles. So African Magic, which is a dupe for Memo's African Leather, another gorgeous, deeply leathery, spicy animalic fragrance that is one that I'd wear like once a season or twice a season or something like that in the colder weather. Doesn't make sense for me to have a full bottle of the Memo when this will scratch the itch, if that makes sense. And the same thing for Agar Intense, which is Oud Wood Intense, a dupe of Oud Wood Intense from Tom Ford. Great for that 1 or 2 times in the fall or winter that I'd be curious to spritz this on and have it be my scent of the day. I do have the Janoons from Al Haramain, which I purchased early on and didn't even understand that I was purchasing dupes. One is a dupe of Dama Bianca, that's Janoon Noir. I've actually ordered a bottle of Dama Bianca, and so I will be selling that one. It's a fantastic dupe. That's on me. I didn't know what I was purchasing. That was almost, I don't know, close to 3 years ago that has it been that long that I purchased those. Janoon Rose, which is a dupe for, is it called Blossom Love from Amouage? And then the regular Janoon, which someone said is a dupe of the powdery fragrance Teint La Neige, I think. I don't remember what exactly that's called. I'll put it up on the screen. I don't know if that's true or not, or if it's just really similar in scent profile, but I will probably let all 3 of those go as I replace them with the originals. I have from Alexandria Kiss Don't Be Shy, which is a dupe for Love Don't Be Shy. Fabulous dupe. Now, if you're concerned about performance and projection, this one beats the original. So this is a case where it might be justified to purchase this. This is bigger. This is the 55 mil. And I think these range for like $60 or so. I am thinking about Love Don't Be Shy Extreme as a purchase. I am waiting for a decant that one of my lovely peers here on YouTube is sending me to decide if I want to replace this with Love Don't Be Shy Extreme. But a great dupe, one that I would tell people to not hesitate to get. It's really great. I have, of course, the other 2 in the, well, there's more now. There's more now, but I only have the 3. I have Rouge. I have this Tobacco Edition, which is a dupe, of course, for the Tom Ford tobacco fragrance. I'll keep that. I did sell my other dupes of that scent profile because how many dupes of the same scent profile do you need? That was my problem. That's not, I can't blame that on dupe companies. That's me being a dodo bird and ordering way too many dupes of the same fragrance. I really, really enjoy from Alexandria's fragrance Moonstruck, which is a dupe for Lune Féline from Atelier des Ors. I may get the original. I'm not sure. It's a strong profile. As you can see, I wear it here and there, and I enjoy a spritz or 2 of this as I am getting ready to wind down for the evening. Really great dupe of Lune Féline. I have Moonlight in Paradise, a dupe for Moonlight in Heaven from Kilian. I'd love to have the original of that. I know it's not long lasting, and so I wonder if I should just stay with this original and just be happy. That's a case of one that I do like. I have Hawaii Volcano, and there's a Hawaii Volcano Extreme, both from Alexandria Fragrances, both dupes of Virgin Island Water from Creed, and a fabulous, fabulous dupe. So I have this, and then I have Malibu Party in the Bay from Simone Andreoli, which is an original creation from Simone Andreoli, but certainly smells a lot like Virgin Island water to the extent that I don't need that. So I may just stick with this and the Simone Andrioli. I also have Sunday Morning, which is a dupe of Petit Matin. Did I say that right? Someone corrected me. I called it Petit Matin, and I think it's Matin. And I believe this is a fragrance by Maison Francis Kurkdjian, Petit Matin. That's a nice citrusy, yeah, citrus, easygoing, summery kind of fragrance. By the way, let me pause to show you the Barouge fragrances. I mean, these bottles are freaking gorgeous. This is a case where if I had known that Perlador was a dupe of something else, I at least have the option of deciding for myself. Great bargain, beautiful bottle, smells fantastic. I think this is Carlisle. Yeah, Carlisle from Parfums de Marly dupe. This is good stuff. Now, this is a scent profile that I probably wouldn't pull for very often, and I'm going to be selling this on Mercari, but it's good. I just wish I knew. That's all. I wish I knew what I was buying. And I do have Juliana's perfume Amour Santal. I've had Bad Bitch, which is a dupe for Rouge Malachite. Very nice. Ended up selling that off because I got Rouge Malachite. And so this is a dupe for Santal Complet from Fragrance du Bois. And I do want the original bottle, but this is good in the meantime. You know, this is a really, really nice dupe, longer performing than the super expensive and underperforming Santal Complet. But I'm drawn to that scent profile and think I want the original, so I may get it. Anyway, I wouldn't begrudge anyone for purchasing this. And here's all I'm getting at, folks. When you go to the website for Juliana's Perfumes and you pull up Amour Santal, it tells you this is inspired by Santal Complet. So you as a consumer can go, oh, great. That's what I'm looking for, an affordable version of that or a less expensive inspired by version, however you want to describe it. Rather than this, which I saw on a website and it didn't have any description of what it was duping. In fact, maybe the company would say it's not a dupe. I don't really know, but it feels like that to me. The same thing was true with Caltat Night, by the way, which I believe is duping Oijan, or maybe it's not. I don't know. I can't claim that. But the point that I'm making with the dupe situation, because we're all deep into that and everybody, not everybody, excuse me, a number of people on their videos want to talk about you can buy this or you can buy that. This is a more affordable scent profile to this, even if the company was not intending to dupe or be inspired by the original. I don't know. I can't claim that because I can't find anything to confirm or deny that other than this smells like section of Fragrantica. And then you're like, oh yeah, that smells almost identical to thus and such. Okay, so let me just say that because that's an important disclaimer. I am not claiming that this company is trying to have their fragrances smell like X, Y, and Z. But when I go to look at Middle Eastern fragrances, at least as they are marketed here in the States. Now, let me pause. There are Middle Eastern brands that are original, beautiful fragrances that we don't even see here in the States. Let's get clear about that. Amazing, high quality blends that we'll never get our nose on because we don't know where to shop for them or whatever. But the ones that flood the US market, a number of the Middle Eastern fragrances smell identical to a designer or niche fragrance, but we don't know it as consumers until it's too late and it's at our doorstep. So I just have some issues with that. So I'm going to leave it at that and say, hey, if you want some dupes, go to Alexandria Fragrances first. They're not sponsoring this video. They have no idea I'm saying this. They don't know who I am. But I've purchased a lot from Alexandria and I have not had any disappointments with that particular house. There are a lot of our friends here who love Dua, so ignore me if you like it and listen to them and try some of those out. Definitely check out Juliana's Perfumes. And if you check out Fragrantica first to see This Smells Like section, then check out Orientica and Al Haramain and maybe even Rasazi. There's a couple other houses that I have some emerging just uneasiness about because of the recent situation. God, everyone knows it's a dupe, right? But it's just a little over that line or a lot over that line in a way that just makes me go, ooh, I don't know. So there we go. I think I'm going to pause here before I say anything else that gets me in any kind of trouble. Please add your thoughts in the comments politely. We're all adults. You can express your opinion in the comments, either in support of what I'm saying or in disagreement. It's totally okay. And we can still be fragrance friends and rock heavy on this channel. Love you guys. Thanks for hearing me out today. And y'all have a great one. See you in the next video.